Welcome back, fantasy football GMs or masterminds. It's Scott Gulbransen from Sportsnaut.com, and I know you want that edge, right? You're going into week 3. Things are either going really well or you're looking for answers. Well, we got some for you as we give you NFL Week 3, sit 'em or start 'em for fantasy football. So buckle up and let's ride. First, we start with the quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, Minnesota Vikings. Yes, the Vikings are 0-2 and can't run the ball, and they struggle on defense at times. But man, oh man, is Kirk Cousins off to a fast start. He's off to an MVP-like start to 2023. He's also the best fantasy quarterback through 2 weeks, tossing for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Philadelphia Eagles. This week, he faces a putrid Chargers defense that plays well at times, but gives up leads, especially late in games. It's a no-brainer, folks. Kirk Cousins, Minnesota Vikings. Start 'em. Sam Howell, Washington Commanders. Among the surprises so far during the season has been the play of young quarterback Sam Howell. Howell heads into week 3 as QB 11 in standard 12-team leagues. A lot of that has to do with his 2-touchdown performance against a surprisingly bad Denver Broncos defense just a week ago. But this week, he faces the Buffalo Bills in week 3, and that's not a good matchup for him as the Bills' defense continues to perform at a high level. Sam Howell, Washington Commanders. Sit 'em. And now on to the running backs. Travis Etienne, Jacksonville Jaguars. Last season, Etienne had an impressive performance, averaging 5.1 yards per rush. However, for the start of the 2023 season, we've seen a slight decrease in his numbers with an average of 3.9 yards over the first 2 games. Now, it's too early to assume a continued decline, though, especially considering Etienne's strong position as an RB2 option just last year. For week 3, Etienne has a great opportunity to bounce back against the Houston Texans defense. It's a team that has already allowed 4 rushing touchdowns to opposing running backs this season. That's the highest in the league. Just last week, we saw Zach Moss, who's considered less capable than Etienne, gain 88 yards and score a touchdown against Houston. With this favorable situation in mind, we think Etienne will have a dominant performance this week, making him a good pick to click in week 3. Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Start him. Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions. Well, it seems Gibb had a bit of a gravity check in week 2, plummeting from his NFL debut heights to scrape a modest 17 yards across 7 attempts last week. Yes, we noticed his commendable effort in the PPR formats, pulling in 7 catches for 39 yards, but let's just say we're not rushing to put all our fantasy eggs in the Gibbs basket for week 3. Now, you might be thinking, but what about the potential gap left by David Montgomery? Well, let us burst that bubble for you. The Atlanta Falcons are not playing games when it comes to their defense against running backs. With a stingy 193 yards and 0 touchdowns yielded in over 46 rush attempts in just 2 weeks, they're about as welcoming as a porcupine at a balloon party. So we'd recommend keeping those Gibbs Week 3 fantasies firmly in the fiction category for now. Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions. Sit 'em. Now, on to the wide receivers. Jordan Addison, Minnesota Vikings. Hold on to your hat, folks, because Addison is breaking onto the scene like a cat in a dog show, turning heads left, right, and center with 7 catches, 133 yards, and a pair of touchdowns already under his belt. This rookie is dancing into the top 10 fantasy wide receiver territory faster than you could say touchdown. Now brace yourselves for Sunday because the Los Angeles Chargers defense seems to be rolling out the red carpet for fantasy football receivers this season. Just how hospitable have they been, you ask? Well, they're practically serving hors d'oeuvres and champagne to wide receivers, allowing them to snag 74% of their targets with an eye-popping average of 17.7. Yes, 17.7 yards per catch. It's practically a reception party over there. So be wise and RSVP to this scoring fiesta by stacking both Addison and Justin Jefferson in your lineup. They're about to be the life of the statistical party. Jordan Addison, Minnesota Vikings, start 'em. Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders. Well, gather round, Patriots of the Pigskin, because we've got a matchup that's practically Hamilton versus Burr Part 2. The Buffalo defense, led by Tre'Davious White, is channeling the spirit of our founding fathers in defending their turf with just 187 yards surrendered to receivers over 2 games. With White allowing a mere 5 catches for 29 yards, it seems like he's established a constitution of his own out there on the field. Now, here's some revolutionary advice for you. It might be time to bench Terry McLaurin this Sunday. Just as Washington played it smart during the Revolution, it seems they're set to control the ball like it's a secret stash of gunpowder, keen on keeping it far away from Josh Allen after his explosive performance last week against the Raiders. So embrace your inner general and make the strategic choice. Let McLaurin sit this one out and avoid the looming Buffalo Stampede. Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders, sit 'em. And finally, the tight ends. Cade Otton, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, bless my alligator boots. It seems Otton is slowly but surely emerging as Baker Mayfield's favorite swamp buddy. With a tally of 8 catches for 60 yards and a gator grip on 89% of his targets over the last 2 weeks, this second-year tight end is starting to resemble Florida's most reliable roadside attraction. Now let's talk strategy. As we head into the Gator wrestling territory this week against the Eagles defense, the cheesesteak-eating tough guys have been about as stringent as a Florida man at an all-you-can-eat buffet, allowing a whopping 17 out of 20 targets to tight ends to be completed. Yep, they're practically handing out fantasy points to tight ends like free oranges at a Florida rest stop. So we reckon it's high time to let Otton bask in the sun as his target share looks set to soar faster than a flamingo in flight this week. Cade Otton, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Start 'em. Darren Waller, New York Giants. All right. Gather round, wise guys and gals, because we've got a situation that's straight out of a storyline from The Sopranos. Waller, the Giants' newest family member, has been making offers Daniel Jones simply can't refuse, pulling in a cool 9 catches for 112 yards in just the first 2 appearances. This guy's climbed the fantasy football tight end rankings faster than Jackie Aprile came to power, landing in the opulent top 6 territory. But folks, even in the family, not every day is a feast. This Thursday, Waller's about to meet the San Francisco 49ers, the feds of the tight end world, if you will. These guys have been cracking down on tight ends like they're hunting for mob informants, giving up just 6 receptions for 34 yards on 15 targets. With linebacker Fred Warner guarding the vault, it seems our man Waller might be facing a setup too tight to wriggle out of this time. So wise up and maybe give Waller the old sit down this week. Capiche? Darren Waller, New York Giants. Sit 'em. Well, there you have it. Sportsnaut's Sit 'em and Start 'em for Week 3 in the NFL for our fantasy football owners out there. Make sure you check the site, sportsnaut.com, for more on fantasy football. Vincent Frank's got a full slate of Sit 'em and Start 'em, so we appreciate you going there, and you can check that out. You need every edge you can get, because you know what? As I told you before, I'm the best fantasy owner and GM in the world, and if you're coming after me, you got to deal with the family. We hope you had some fun. For Sportsnaut.com, I am Scott Gulbransen. Good luck this weekend.